Welcome to Conversations from the Edge of Consciousness. I'm your host, Christine Madera. For me, and possibly for you, the inner world of consciousness has always been much more real and way more fun than the so-called real material world. Growing up, I thought I was alone in this, but I'm not. There are a lot of us, and far too many have no one to talk to who shares this experience. I've been lucky to cultivate a community of friends who love to talk about the energies, ideas, and vibrations that are pushing the edges of our own consciousness, as well as our collective consciousness. In Conversations from the Edge, we share our conversations with you. Welcome to Conversations from the Edge. This is your host, Christine Madera, and today we have another conversation with consciousness. And the question I brought to consciousness today was, what does it mean to be in my own inner authority? And so here we go. The question is, what does it mean to be in my own authority? Authority is one of the huge transits that humans are making at this time. It is the transit from authority externalized into structures outside of yourself, like governments, laws, rules, leaders, and these kinds of authority figures and authority holders, ideas of authority, to an idea or a experience of being in your own personal authority and operating from there. When you look at this from the idea of an externalized authority structure like governments and laws and these kinds of structures, it seems like anarchy to have a whole global population that is all operating in their own authority. And truly, to those in power, this is very scary, because the idea also, when the people in general are in their own authority, is that there is no need for the same kind of externalized authority structures that there are in place currently, and that are currently breaking down in our experience. So how does this inner authority work, and how do we keep from being in anarchy in our inner authority? In each person there is an inner map of themselves and an inner map of the world based on the things that they have learned that are called constructions, or a constructed sense of reality. And that construction lies within the human perceptual system, within the brain, within the body. It's all of these ideas that are held together by other ideas and by having what they look at outside of themselves reflected back to themselves, that really reinforce these ideas of who they are, of how the world works, and of what in the world is real and what is unreal. And so one of the ways that we begin to challenge the idea of authority as it is now is to begin to look at where and how you have externalized authority in your life and in your perception, and then how to bring it back within you. So you can imagine that you are in a house, and you can be in your house. And it's your house, it's decorated exactly the way that you would like your house to be decorated, and you're very happy in your house. And yet, in your house, when you want to get from one room to another, you exit a room, you go into a hallway or another passageway, and then you go into another room. You follow the flow and the structure of the house, because that house and the structure of the house is considered fixed and real, and you then accommodate or adapt yourself or operate relative to the structure of the house. The house has a fixed structure. You move within the house in a way that is relative to that fixed structure. So there are other aspects of reality, like the things in your house. So for example, the cup of water that is on the counter. And you can drink that cup of water or drink the water from the cup and put the cup in the dishwasher. You can pick up your mail and put it somewhere else. You can pick up a vase and put it somewhere else. All of these smaller things are things that are relative to you. You are that fixed point of desire, for lack of a better term here, or that fixed gravitational point, where other things are operating in relation to you based on what you would like them to do. So the vase goes over here, this book goes over here, the cup goes over here. So these are two ways of relating in the world in an external sense of the world. What we externalize our view of the world into the house, into the things in the house, and we operate within those structures by moving from room to room via the structure of the house and moving the things that we desire to within the house structure. So in our perceptual world as humans, there are also ideas that have a structure so fixed that we relate to them as real, even though they are simply an idea. So they're not real in the sense of there is a wall that you cannot walk through, that you need to walk to a doorway to move into a room. So it's not real in that physical sense. It is real in the perceptual sense. It's real in the sense that it is an idea that many, many people hold, and they hold it so in such a fixed way, and everybody relates to it as if it was fixed and as if it was real, that it becomes real in your perceptual system. So this is what happens with authority, is the authority structure, or whatever it is that you are making the authority, but in this case we'll talk about an authority structure like a government, because this is the movement from outside top-down authority to internalized authority. So a government structural system. And that government structural system is an externalized sense of control that people believe in, but is not actually true. There are real people in the government, there are buildings in the government, but the idea of the government of any particular county or city or country or burg or whatever is just an idea that everybody relates to as real. And so when everybody relates to that as real, it becomes real in your perceptual system, and you relate to it as if it was real, and you were operating in relation to it or relationship to it. So you invest a certain amount of your own inner authority in this externalized sense, this externalized authority, as a way for your own protection. So as humans have transited history, this has made sense. When you have needed these larger structures to perhaps repel invaders, or to organize people who are in conflict with one another, or to organize people who are acting nefariously toward one another. And so creating a structure and investing some of your inner authority into this structure made sense for a period of time. That now is breaking down, as almost universally these structures of authority no longer serve the people who have invested their inner authority in them. And so they are coming down bit by bit. And there are two basic ways of relating to an authority that is in place. So when we have this externalized authority, anybody who is operating in relation to this externalized authority is actually giving their energy, their authority, their power over to this authority. It does not make it bad or wrong, it's just simply what it is. The two basic ways to be in this system is either to ally yourself, or to become an ally of this authority structure, so that you relate to it as if it was an extension of you. You give your power over to it, and it, for lack of a better term, protects you, or serves more or less your interests in its authority structure. The other way of operating with this is in opposition to the structure. And many people, when they are upset or dislike the structure, begin to move into opposition of that structure. But you are still giving your power and authority over to this structure, because you are relating to it from a place of opposition. So you are still seeing it externalized as real, and you are opposing it in relationship to that reality. So both of these have a cost to them internally from a person. Both of them rob people of their own inner authority, and both are kind of the way that people are operating at this time. The cost for those who are aligning themselves with an authority structure is their freedom. Because when you give your authority over to that authority structure to represent you, then you become beholden to what they want you to do. So perhaps they go beyond what you would like them to do, and then you move into the place of being in opposition. Or perhaps the figure in that authority structure changes to one that you dislike, and then everybody changes places, and the people who were opposed become allianced with them, and the people who were unopposed or who were allied with them before become opposed to them. It's like a ping pong match, always going back and forth. Now, the cost for those who are in opposition to the authority figure is in their own biology. It is in the idea or the experience that when you are in opposition to something, you use a lot of your energy to fight it. You use your energy to try to break it down, to try to point to it and say this is wrong, to do all kinds of things that require a lot of energy. Require a lot of each person who is in that place of opposition, whether they're actively in opposition by perhaps protesting or trying to do other things to convince other people to see the wrongness of this authority structure, or they're internally within themselves angry or seething or resentful or depressed or powerless or in some other way using up their internal resources in a way that is damaging to the body over the long term and damaging to the larger community of humanity over the long term, because everybody is giving up their energy in opposition to this authority. The commonality between these two, whether you're in alliance with or in opposition to, is that you are giving an authority outside of yourself, your authority. You are giving your power and your authority to this external thing. You are investing in this external authority structure, whether you are in opposition or you are in alliance. You can imagine it as a giant bank account. And everybody is feeding their money into this bank account. This is different than taxes. This is like your internal currency of energy. So you are feeding all of your energy into this bank account. Whether you're in opposition or in alliance, that account grows. So when you begin to come into your own authority, one of the first things to do is to realize how you are operating in relation to this idea of authority outside of you. So you may be in relation to it in a way that you like. You may be very happy to give it all of your authority and then to just go about your life knowing that you are allied with this authority and all is well. You do, however, spend some time recognizing how being allied with that authority depletes your internal account of freedom. So what are you paying from yourself into that bank account to support that authority at your own expense? Because over time, little by little by little, that authority structure asks you to invest more. It asks you to act outside of your own deep self-interest to support that authority structure. It asks you to change your ideas, to change your views, to compromise yourself and to compromise your true self. You're not just your ideas in your mind, which are constructions which change all the time. Everybody's changed their mind 1,000 million times. But that deep sense of truth of you. It asks you to compromise yourself over time, because that is the nature of external authorities. That is just what they do. And so begin to look and see how you have invested yourself in that authority and where you have perhaps compromised yourself that is no longer tolerable to you. If you are in opposition to an authority structure, recognize how much of your energy you are giving to that authority structure through your opposition. How are you depleting your own bank account, for lack of a better term, not from dollars, but from energy, to feed that structure? Because the authority structure, because it is a fixed idea that everybody is relating to and believing in and giving their power to, does not have to fight back. It only takes your energy, even if you are in opposition to it. So notice how you are giving your authority, your energy, your internal currency over to that idea in your opposition to that idea. This is not a popular way to think about it, because opposition can feel really good. It can feel very adrenaline pumping, very, cortisol pumping. It can feel very powerful when you are in the biology of opposition. But the biology of opposition will do two things in the body, right? The biology of opposition surges in the moment and causes you to do things that you would not ordinarily do, and that often go against your deep truth as well. So you are being asked to compromise your deep truth in opposition to this authority. And the other thing it does is that those surges are not sustainable over the long term. And each time you are in one of these larger surges of cortisol or adrenaline or other stress hormones, it depletes your body in a way that requires a lot of time, energy, attention, rest, rejuvenation to recover from. So if you do not give yourself that time to recover, then the body breaks down from chronic illness or chronic stress, and the body of the body, the larger movements that are in opposition, break down as well, because they are impossible to sustain over the long term simply from opposition. All right, so what is the other option? When you come into your own authority, what does that mean? So one of the reasons that coming into your own authority is difficult is because it requires first you to be in coherence with your deep self. So if you have ever listened to heart math things or done some coherence exercises, you've heard the idea that your heart center, is actually your ideal oscillator of coherence in your body, the ideal leader of the coherence in your body. That when you begin to attune everything to your heart energy, your heart rhythm, your heart sense of yourself, that then you begin to come into this place of internal coherence, internal consistency, internal power, that becomes very calming, soothing, and yet also very powerful at the same time. So this heart center, and the reason we talk about the heart is because the head is correlated with your constructed self. When you're operating from the head, you're operating from limitation, you're operating from your constructed self. This is different than operating from like divine mind, which is a different idea here we're not going to talk about. But in the heart, where you are connected with your soul, your higher self, your deep truth, with love, with light, with the internal coherence of your whole being, not just your body, but your whole mind, body, spirit matrix. You and the larger you and yourself, you and your soul, you and your higher self, you and all that is. So when you bring everything into attunement and coherence with your heart center, you are coming into your full power and your full authority, because you are beginning to bring back those places in your mind, in your brain, in your body that you have invested outside of yourself in this externalized reality, in this externalized sense of authority. And so as you begin to come into this more coherent state, you come out of the ideas you have about authority. So you're no longer operating in the realm of ideas, which are all things that are made up. So you are no longer operating from the idea of authority. You are no longer reacting to that idea of authority, whether you're acting in opposition to it or you're acting in concert with it, in alignment with it. You are operating more from that place of what is true for me. And not what is true for me and the ideas that are true for me of the things that I've learned, the values that I've been taught, but what is true for me on that deep soul, spirit, truth level. And as you come into your heart, into the deeper experience of you, that becomes more and more apparent. And it requires dropping out of the ideas of the mind and out of the constructions of the mind and the brain that hold this external reality structure in place. Many, 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 many people experience this part of themselves. And they experience them as part of themselves at those times that perhaps they are in meditation, or they are with somebody that they deeply love, or they are watching a sunset, or they are in a place where all of those ideas about right and wrong, good and bad, us and them, all of these things just melt for the moment, and they drop into a place where it feels much more real, where life feels much more true, not from a surface level, but from just a deep upwelling of truth, where you are not looking outside of yourself for what is real, but you feel that deep reality within yourself. And it's almost as if words drop away, ideas drop away, thoughts drop away, and you simply are in that state. That is the beginning of that state, that place of awareness, that place of the truth of you, where you can begin to call back your authority. Because in that state, while if you look outside of yourself and you see an authority structure in play, you know in that state that authority structure is simply an idea that really has no power over you except the power that you give it. In that deeper state, where you are operating from that place of your own internalized sense of the truth of you. Everything outside of you, when you open your eyes and look around, has less validity than it did, or than it does, when you look outside of yourself and you experience that outside of yourself as reality. And you are operating then in relationship with that reality. So in this other state, when you are in this deep sense of you, you become that gravity point of reality. You become the fixed reality. And when you open your eyes and you look around, you realize that everything you see from that state operates in relation to you. Which does not mean that you control it or that you have dominion over it. It simply means that it has no control over you, that you are in your power. You are in your authority. And you are moving through life from that central place of being you. And as you move through life from that central place of being you, everything operates in relation to you. And you experience yourself as reality unfolding. And you experience all that's happening around you as a reflection of that unfolding experience. When you begin to spend more time in this place of internal authority, you begin to withdraw the money, for lack of a better term, that you have invested in the external authority structures. It's not that they go away, it's not that they, collapse overnight, it's not that, the person that you're most interested in gets elected so that you can align with them instead of being in opposition to them. It is that you stop seeing them as an authority that you need to relate to. You stop seeing them as an authority over you. You stop externalizing your sense of authority outside of you. And you begin to come into this place of internal authority within you. So that is already a challenge to be able to do that, because we are primed in our nervous systems to react, to see what is happening around us and outside of us as all these ways we have externalized reality, as true and real, and we are acting in opposition to them or relationship with them or alliance with all of this externalized reality. So it pulls all of our energy from within and puts it outside. It takes the energy from that heart, that gravity point, and moves it back up into the head of idea, and the head and the brain where your ideas are, and operating in the realm of ideas and the relationship of ideas and the opposition to this idea and this idea and this idea and the alliance with this idea and this idea and this idea, and all of this juices up the biology system, juices up the fight-flight system, juices up the whole nervous system, and keeps us in that relationship with externalized reality as real. The other big challenge, besides being able to calm your own nervous system and drop into the heart and begin to build that coherence within you to be your own authority figure, is that when you are looking to an external authority and you are relating to an external authority as real, you are relating to the ideas of that external reality and that external authority as real, and aligning or dismissing or being in opposition to those ideas of what that authority has. And those aren't the only ideas. You are making those ideas real as well. And being in opposition to something does not create anything except more of the thing you're in opposition to, because you are investing your energy, your inner bank account with this authority. When you begin to cultivate your own authority, one of the things that you can do to really help this is to begin to drop out of the realm of ideas and begin to drop into what is the feeling, the vibration, the ways of the possibilities of what life is and can be for you. How you would like your life to feel and how you would like the world to feel. And how to be in this place, in a place of non-opposition. To come up with a better idea than the ones that you are looking at and begin to cultivate that within yourself. So if you are looking at the authority outside of you and saying it is unjust, and I'm fighting the injustice of that authority, then you are adding to the power of that authority and probably fueling injustice. If you come within yourself and you begin to cultivate, what is justice? What do I feel justice is for me? What does justice mean for me? And you can filter through all of the ideas you have about justice, because we have lots of ideas about justice. Oftentimes they conflict depending on if justice is applied to people that you like or people that you don't like, right? And that's all part of that dismantling of the ideas, of seeing where you are in conflict within yourself. But to come into that deep sense, resting in the heart, and simply ask that deeper part of you, what is justice? What does justice feel like? What does it feel like to be in a state of justice within myself? And perhaps a better word for justice in this way would be fairness. Justice has a lot of connotation to it in the energy system around power and about wielding power. Fairness has a lot more nuance to it. And in that energy system, there's a lot less opposition to the idea of fairness, to the experience of fairness. So perhaps you come into your heart and you ask, what would it feel like? What is it like to live in a state of fairness? To be fair with myself and fair with others, and with where all is fair, without creating an external idea of what that might look like, but what might it feel like? And perhaps ideas and thoughts and images may come about what things may look like if it was fair, if you were in a place of fairness. And perhaps that's not the best idea once you begin to sit with it and say, that's a little limiting for me. Let's add another vibration and see if there's something that might feel more attuned to the truth of me. attune to that heart center. And in this way, as you begin to drop out of the realm of ideas and into this place of internal authority where you can begin to build your own energetic construction, for lack of a better term, of what it is that you prefer to the authority structure that you are opposing. It requires a lot to begin to open to what is possible within and to let go of all of the ideas you have around what it is that you do not want. And this is the other reason that people continue to invest their authority in external structures. But as you drop in and begin to cultivate your own inner sense of peace, of prosperity, of fairness, of justice, of equality or equanimity or egalitarianism or whatever it is for you that is what you would prefer to the thing that you are opposing, the more you begin to withdraw your energy currency from the externalized structures. And from all of them. Not simply the one authority that we may be talking about now, but from all authority structures, because money has an authority. The idea of how we have set up our society and how you have to move through society in the various parts of your life or ages in your life, all of those are these made-up systems that we give our authority over to because we think they are real. The more you begin to tap into your own inner sense of truth, the more you are able to look at something outside of you that you have externalized as real, an idea that has become as fixed as the structure of your house, and say, oh, that isn't real. That's made up as well. What else is possible? And to then cultivate that possibility within you as an alternative and as an internal GPS system, where you begin to invest your energy in your own authority, in your own way of moving through the world, not in opposition, not requiring other people or other structures to validate what you desire, to validate the truth of you. That's just becoming an authority structure that you are trying to get people to relate to. And even if you have been aligning yourself with an external authority, as you examine that and see little by little how your choice has been depleted in order to stay in alliance with an authority or a system or an idea or a structure external to you. You can also begin to do this same thing of letting go of the ideas that you have been aligning yourself with and coming into your own truth and saying, what is true for me? What is my truth? What is my heart guiding me to? Outside of the realm of ideas and into this space of possibility. And a few things about this state of possibility as a place of creating and being in your own authority is that one way to continue to find these places you have invested your authority outside of yourself, in opposition or in alliance, is things that you react to. Either things that make you angry because you are against them, or things that make you angry because you think people are against you. So either of those things, generally, are ones that you know that you have invested some part of you into an external idea that is time for that idea to be released and come into this place of possibility. So that is one way to continue to see how you have invested your energy, an idea that is outside of the truth of you. And these structures are not always things like government power or laws or rules. Some of these are ideas that you have about who you are supposed to be, about how your body is supposed to look, about how much money you are supposed to make at your job at this particular part of your life, about how your relationship is supposed to be and how your partner is supposed to respond to you. All of these inner ideas and inner rules are things that we have invested in as a way of externalizing our own self, our own experience, our own authority. So these too are things that you call back and drop into this deep heart space and begin to explore the truth of you outside of the ideas that you've had. And as you practice this, the more you are able to hold a coherent, inviting, non-conflicting experience of your own truth. And by non-conflicting, this means that as you are opening to possibility, if you find that you have an oppositional relationship within you, in your own inner power structure, this happens with things like when you are contemplating what is fair, and the impulse to make things fair for you is to make things less fair for others that you feel have had a better shake than you. So being in opposition to somebody or something within your energy system is still depleting because you are still giving your authority over to an idea. So when you can be in that place of non-conflict within and holding that space of possibility without having the rules that make things opposed to somebody else or something else, as you begin to build that and you begin to pull in these threads of authority that you have invested in other places, then all of these external authorities that you've invested in have their accounts depleted. This is how things change. So imagine as more and more people begin to invest their own authority within themselves and remove all of their energetic currency from external structures, that those external structures no longer have the power or the authority to stand. This is that place where people feel there is anarchy. However, when you are in your own power and authority in a non-oppositional way, as you grow your own inner authority, you become very attractive to other people. So as you do this from a place of heart, and you begin to exude or imagine or be in the possibility of what is inspiring to other people, the more that other people in their authority begin to ally with you, not by giving you their authority, but by adding their energy to a common ideal, inspiration, vision, possibility. And it doesn't have to be an exact same vision or possibility. But moving from a place of investing in external authority to being in that place of possibility and asking, what is here? What is possible here? How can we be in cooperation, in collaboration to create from a place of this possibility where there is non-conflict, where there is room for all, where people can find themselves in this possibility. Then people in their own authority, in their own possibility, begin to operate in a way that allows everyone to be in their possibility, in a non-conflicting way, where we all share the same basic external reality. And yet, at the same time, we are all in our own internally driven, internal authority, internal power. And we are the locus of our own gravitational point as we move through our shared reality in a way that is inherently non-conflicting, in a way that is inherently honoring to all who are operating in their own inner authority. This is not something that happens overnight as a collective. But you will find as you do this for yourself and you begin to play with your own inner authority, where it is invested, where you are operating in it from a place of being in your truth, and where you are giving away your authority to others. The more you begin to gather back your own authority in a non-conflicting, non-oppositional way, where you are not requiring other people to validate your truth, the more you will find that your world changes. And as your world changes, as your experience of collective reality changes, you will become like a light or a lighthouse and inspire other people to do this same thing, not to follow you in your vision, but to act from their own authority and live from their own internal GPS. This is the movement, slow as it is, but it may be faster than what you think it may be. But this is the movement of dismantling externalized structures and coming into this place of inner authority. Thank you for listening. This has been a Conversation with Consciousness, which is part of Conversations from the Edge podcast. You can find all of our Conversations with Consciousness, as well as all of the Conversations from the Edge, on the webpage conversationsfromtheedge.net, N-E-T-net. Thank you for listening, and have a beautiful day. This is your host, Christine Madera. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation from the edge of consciousness. You can find all our conversations at conversationsfromtheedge.net. You'll also find links to schedule a private conversation with me or any of my friends, as well as tools to help you expand your own consciousness and explore what's possible for you outside the boundaries of your current perceptions. Feel free to use this podcast to start your own conversation by sharing it with friends, on social media, in your blog, or even in your own podcast. And as always, live the adventure of pushing your own edge. It's the most amazing adventure there is.